So logical fallacies. So I'm going to do a quick. I did one at record-breaking speed. I did an educational logical fallacies because it's an enormous topic. But a logical fallacy is one of those things that anybody who's a skeptic or a debater really needs to watch out for. It's when your opponent says something that on the face of it sounds logical, but in fact is not in any way actually logical. So it sounds good, but isn't. And weak arguments are generally bolstered with this sort of thing. And I'm going to give an example of some of those. So, so just as a really quick one, we have, for example, a false dilemma. You give your opponent two false choices and ask them to pick. Like, you know, if you're not with us, you're against us. You know, you don't allow for a third option. That's, you know, and you might remember George Bush saying that. There's negative proof. You can't prove a negative. You can't prove my neighbor isn't a space alien, and I'm telling you they are, unless you can prove otherwise. That's another logical fallacy. It sort of might flummox you. There are a zillion of these. There's slippery slope. You know, we legalize marijuana. The next thing, people are going to be shooting up heroines on our playgrounds. You know, that sort of extreme. And then there's a series called appeals. We appeal to nature. It's natural, therefore it must be good. Or it's popular. Most people agree, so therefore it must be right. Or somebody famous said it, so it must be true. So there's those, and the really key ones tend to be a series of non sequiturs that will throw people off their game. Somebody starts speaking along one lines and then they make this leap and don't account for the leap. Things like straw men and red herrings, generalizations, circular reasoning. So I just wanted to remind people of those. There's a lot, and to explain each one takes a long time, and I already tried to do that once. So tonight we're going to do a group exercise. And it's a little game that I ripped off from the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe called Name That Logical Fallacy. So I've pulled some things from the news, and I want to see if people can identify what the logical fallacy is in this line, because these are the sort of things you might hear in a debate. And we give extra points if you can identify it and refute it in a debate. So. So, for example, I'll start with one. Glenn Beck said
that reservoir of intelligence.
You know, but his insanity is so infinite that it's actually hard to find a nice, crisp, logical fallacy, but I did. If Hosni Mubarak falls, he said, the Muslim Brotherhood will take over Egypt, leading to Islamic caliphate.
Slippery slope?
No, that's not the way we did it. Let me give you a hint. The Muslim Brotherhood's polling at numbers of like 5% in the polls. It's a false dichotomy. You have Hosni Mubarak or you have the Muslim Brotherhood. There's no third way, right? So that would be, and this is tough, and I hope to do this a lot more times, so we're just going to talk, but I'm trying to get a sense of what this might sound like. A lot of people who are unhappy about WikiLeaks say, you know, Julian Assange is an accused rapist and a menace to society.
Ad hominem.
Ad hominem, exactly. Point to him. Ad hominem means to just attack the person. You know, it doesn't. You're trying to do, other ad hominems are like Hitler was a vegetarian, so therefore vegetarians are evil. Obama's speech in Cairo was what sparked the revolution that ousted Mubarak. That's been making some rounds. The most common one.
Non sequitur.
Post hoc propter hoc. Post hoc ergo pecum hoc. It doesn't follow. There's no connection that can be made there. Yes, they happened, and they happened in that sequence, right? They happened in, Obama's speech happened first, then there was a revolution, making that connection, not so much.
Is that basically the same thing as saying correlation is not causation?
Yes, Correlation's not causation. There's a bunch of those. Let's see. Oh, this winter had record-breaking storms, so clearly global warming is false. That's another post hoc. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
Well, I don't know the vernacular, but there's two unrelated subjects. One's the weather, the other's climate.
Exactly, exactly. Correlation, causation, not the same. Post hoc just makes us sound really
Latin?
snooty. Here's one. The South African government official states that HIV doesn't cause AIDS and says Carrie Mullis, a Nobel laureate, agrees with this.
Famous guy said it.
Appeal to authority. You know, so it's like, and it may not even, they're generally not an authority on this particular topic. But, you know, if a famous person, I'll give you another one for free, Jenny McCarthy and her vaccine things. You know, she's a famous person, doesn't make her an expert on vaccines.
Oh, but you wrote a book on it.
Yeah, well.
What Suzanne Summers?
Oh, yes.
We're going there.
You're trying to distract me. In reaction to commentary that biofuels are contributing to rising food prices, a biofuels industry spokesman says, the notion that ethanol is causing the food crisis blithely ignores market realities, global trade agreements, and the domestic farm policies of sovereign nations and the impact of Wall Street's rampant speculation.
Wow. Complicated.
Too complicated.
There is sort of a series called Repetition, but this isn't one.
Camouflage.
So I'll shorten it. In reaction to commentary that biofuels are contributing to rising food prices, the spokesman says the notion that ethanol is causing the food crisis blithely ignores all this other stuff. Often used in our debates. Straw man. So it's a straw man because they're setting up a whole thing. Nobody said there weren't any other factors. They said this was one factor. And he got up and said, you're ignoring all this other stuff, and got this focus shifted away, right? That's a real key debating technique. Or even, I'll do another sort of a distraction one for you. There, I'm narrowing it down. A strong man in one of the Arabic countries where mass protests are happening offers to shuffle his cabinet. They want him to step down, he offers to shuffle his cabinet. Okay, we'll get better at this. Red herring. That's another distraction one. It's like, you know, don't look at this, look over here. Look, shuffling cabinet. I'm still here. I know that's what you wanted. Oh, Stephen Colbert says this all the time when he's interviewing people. He'll ask them, George Bush, great president or the greatest president?
False dilemma?
False dichotomy, right, exactly. False choice. Drives them crazy. How about, my child became autistic after being vaccinated, so vaccines are clearly dangerous.
Post hoc ergo propter.
See, you're getting some, and that's not bad considering my list, by the way, of like 25, I think, options. So I'm going to, oh, here's one that was in the news. Toronto cop says women shouldn't dress like sluts if they don't want to be raped.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
That was in the news a couple days ago. I tried to make these topical.
I had to apologize.
He's going to classes. That's another red herring. You know, you're trying to talk about violence against women, and we try to sidetrack it into this conversation about how they dress, which actually has nothing to do with violence against women. And I'll give you one more really tough one. Intuition is always right. If it wasn't right, it wasn't intuition. There's a broad one. Circular reasoning. Can anybody name the more specific extra bonus points?
Begging the question.
No?
Tautology?
Tautological.
It's called the no true Scotsman argument. You make a blanket statement about a group, and then if somebody points out that that's not true of at least one individual, well, they're not, you know, all Scotsmen are loyal. What about this traitor? Oh, well, he's not a true Scotsman. All true Scotsmen are loyal. So anyway, those are the sorts of things we ask you to look out for. Thank you for timing me. I was done anyway.